I love that title because it's so, you don't really know what's coming next. What I'm talking about with get out and stay out is the triangle that we find ourselves in with when there's three people in the room or in a conversation, especially around family. You kind of have to be on guard for it. It's like a tornado. It forms so slowly. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of something you have no heart for. It's uncomfortable. Everybody's uncomfortable, by the way. You've got a persecutor, whoever started it. You've got the victim. That's an important role. And you've got the rescuer. You can do the triangle with only two people, but it's not really as effective. But watch for the three people. That if you can kind of keep an eye out for it, you can stay out of it to begin with. And characteristics of codependence, usually the same ones are used in childhood. Every single person in here in the triangle is unhealthy, or they wouldn't be in the triangle. And your job really, if you find yourself in that triangle, is to quit your job. You got a triangle. If one person drops out, then it folds. Very simple. But it's not that easy, because we're conditioned when we go back home to our parents, and this is a perfect time to talk about this. We're in the middle of the trifecta. We had Thanksgiving. Now here comes Christmas and New Year's. Perfect opportunity for misbehavior. If you go home back to your family as a child, you're probably going to drop into the triangle at some point. I was the emotional scapegoat and physical scapegoat, to be honest, of the family. So when I used to go home, I would drop back into that role, and whatever anybody darted at me, and it was like, you walk through the door, all these darts, you're dodging and stuff like this. Oh, it looks like you've gained weight. Blah, 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 blah. You never know what's coming with my family, with a lot of families. I don't have the worst family ever. I would love to claim that, but that can't be true. So automatically, I'm apologizing. Doesn't matter what I'm apologizing for. I'm wrong. I know that. I got that in my childhood. I know I'm wrong. Don't know why necessarily, but I know that I'm wrong. So I just apologize to try to settle the room down. And that's the reason that we use patterns and characteristics to settle the room down, whatever's going on. If there's somebody that's heightened a little bit, or there's something that's starting to go sideways, that you can just tell, it's almost crackles in the room like electricity. And once you see that, that means you're, number one, that means you're a child. You're not an adult right now. One of your children has taken over. Okay, that's important. Mary's really big on inner children and to recognize who's in charge. Because you're adult. I always thought my adult was in charge as soon as I turned 18, as soon as I was able to get out of the house of horrors. Now I'm 18, now I'm an adult, and now I have my stuff together, because that comes with being an adult. All of a sudden you're mature. And that's not true. I stayed a child until I got into CoDA, which was about 9 years ago. So I had really no chance at acting like an adult, which was a shame. Who knows what I could have accomplished if I had been an adult. On the other hand, I wouldn't be right here right now. So I choose this. And also got a Zoom meeting on Sunday night. It's a book study, and I wanted to tell you about it because we're starting at page 1 tonight. We just finished going through all the steps. We're starting over page 1. If you have sponsees that need some book study stuff. All right. Remembering that we're born a blank slate. We're completely innocent. We don't even know the language yet. We don't know what our name is. We don't know what we believe. We don't know what to think about. We don't know anything. We know when we're wet and we're hungry and we're tired, and then we start crying and our needs get met. It's very simple. But then we learn the language. And all of a sudden, people start telling us things about ourselves. And it's not, as I recall it, I would like to think that my mom started off initially telling me how fat I was. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. But she would say things like, oh, there's my Debbie. She's my human garbage disposal. So that does kind of infer fatness. Okay. Doesn't have to say it out loud. Those of you who have heard my story before know I was squeezed in between two thinner, smarter sisters. They were straight A's. They were thin. And I can't even call them skinny. They were slender, which is even worse. I can't even be mad at them, you know. So they were slender. They got straight A's. I was pudgy and I was about a B minus, C plus on a good day. So that's where we are. So I knew nobody had to tell me I was fat because I could see it. I had a visual representation of it. So my role within the family was I was not as good as my sisters. I knew that. And it was displayed to me every once in a while. And I was the scapegoat. If something went wrong in the house, I'm the first person they came to. Don't know how that started. I don't think my mom liked me very much because we're exactly alike. As it turns out, we're exactly alike. And we were butting heads from the minute I could speak English. But they told me what my name was and how to write it. My name was Debbie. My full name is Deborah Karen. And so I was Debbie growing up, along with pretty much everybody else. It's like Ashley, you know, or Tiffany. All of a sudden, everybody has the same name. Our caregivers start shaping our view of the world and our position in it. They are the model of how to socialize, communicate, form relationships, and relate to others around us. These are the people we learn from. My family, however, was, now this is from stepdad on, I have no recollection of any of the years before my stepdad, which is odd. I loved my dad, but I don't have any recollections at all. So about 8 years old, stepdad comes in with a bang. He looks like Fred Flintstone, huge guy, or Jackie Gleason, big, scary guy. And I didn't have any recollection of him before all of a sudden he was married to mom and moving in. I'm like, who's this asshole? I'm sorry. Okay, who's this guy? Okay, I'm going to have to watch it. If I have a potty mouth today, forgive me. Also apologize for the stitches. Nothing I can do about that. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the children, the roles in the family, so you can see if you recognize yourself. The golden child. This was definitely not me. This is the one that can do no wrong. In adulthood, this role often manifests as perfectionism and a low sense of self. It is common for these people to become obsessively attached to others as they learn to get value and worth from external sources. In other words, somebody else is telling them they're fantastic all the time. So they need that when they grow up. By the way, if you have any questions for me whatsoever, just raise your little virtual hand. Please interrupt me. It's okay. Now we have the hero, definitely again, not me, the one who proves to the rest of the world that the family is okay because they look good. It might be an athlete or a musician or somebody who's really super smart. If little Jimmy is a football star, then our family can't be that bad, obviously. If you know that, and we feel that way. I know when I feel these guys that come up from college and hit the big leagues in football, they must have a really healthy family because they probably nurtured the heck out of them and got them where they are. That might not be true. In adulthood, these people are drawn to achievement and success and are prone to perfectionism and being overworked. The beauty of my role is I'm not obsessed with perfectionism since it was unattainable. And when I was growing up, didn't matter what I did. Okay, here's another one, the mascot. This is the one who diffuses conflict in the family. Skilled with humor and other methods of deflection, they're able to draw attention towards themselves and away from where it could turn volatile. Many well-known comedians and actors are self-proclaimed mascots, and that makes sense. And it's another way to change the trajectory of the room. These people are extremely valuable in families because they can see things ahead of time when things are going south. You can feel the room starting to crackle and they feel it, and they'll tell a joke or put the attention on themselves so that everybody will settle back down. It's a valuable role, not me. The identified patient, here I am, the person who is the family's focus of dysfunction. We're here because Karen has an alcohol problem. I have an alcohol problem. I don't anymore. I've been sober for 21 years. I figure my problem is taken care of, unless I decide to drink again. Then we're back with a vengeance. The family thinks this person is the problem, but it actually runs deeper than that one person. When the person is a child caregiver is often excused problematic behaviors immature, still able to be fixed. By adulthood, if they haven't fixed themselves, this person often becomes the black sheep. Ta-da! There I am. I was the black sheep and I was blamed for a lot of things, and some I did and some I didn't. I'll be honest. I don't have a clean slate. But I was, acting out the way I got attention was by misbehaving. If I tried to behave, I got no attention. Everybody was just taking a break. Now, this is interesting when it says it runs much deeper than one person. The family is angry. The parents have codependent issues. They are not healthy. None of us would be here if we had healthy parents. Okay, let's just get to that. Our parents had a dysfunctional relationship with themselves and with each other. So they're sick, they've got their own problems, and the scapegoat is usually the one it gets taken out on. My mom apologized to me about 10 years ago. I was in AA and I was talking about the 9th step, and I just general conversation. And she said, I need to apologize to you about something, which almost made me jump out of the car because mom is scary. I never know which direction she's going. It sounds good, but it might not be. So she said that she had a snapshot in her head of when I was younger, and I was apparently in a corner curled up and protecting myself because she was wailing on me. And my first instinct, of course, is, my God, what did I do to deserve this? And I asked her, what did I do? And she said, well, actually, you didn't do anything. I'd had a bad day at work. And I can't tell you the relief that I got from that and the freedom I got from that. I was surprised that she apologized, but it freed me from being that bad kid, because I always kept thinking, I can't be this bad. I can't be this wrong. And I wasn't. Sometimes she just had a bad day and needed somebody to take it out on. The problem runs much deeper than that one person. Let's see if we got another one. The scapegoat, ta-da, AKA the black sheep. This is the outlier, the different one, the one who broke away. They are the opposite of the hero, ta-da, and often the focus of the family's problems. This is interesting, and it surprised me when I read it. The black sheep is often the most honest of the family members. And oh boy, did I get in trouble when I was honest. Man. But I was afraid to lie. There was an incident I'm going to tell you about. This was so awful. When I would think about it now, if I had any healthy behaviors, it would not have turned out the way it did. Okay, brief scenario. I'm in high school. I'm probably a sophomore. My dad worked for PG&E. Stepdad worked for PG&E, and we were in the master bedroom wrapping up Christmas gifts for his company. There was tons of them. We were on a wrapping crusade, and my mom told us, "Do not go in the garage. Don't go into the garage for any reason." So I said, "Fine, I don't care." We don't ever question anything that was just stupid. So we're back there, and mom is in a good mood. So we're all allowed to have a good time, and we're laughing, and we're, taking on her emotions because it was okay to laugh and be happy at that time. Well, she told me towards the end, we had a big bag of garbage of leftover wrappings and things. And she said, go throw that in the garbage. Well, the garbage is in the garage. I didn't even think about it at this point. We'd been back there for a couple of hours. And also it was an order. You don't say, gee, I don't think that's a good idea. And I totally forgot about the garage thing. So I had a bag of garbage, opened up the garage door, and there's my stepdad putting bikes together for us for Christmas. Oh my God. And I froze. Because I already knew I was screwed. Okay, I've ruined Christmas. I'm screwed. I'm in big trouble right now. Mom, I can hear her. She must have recognized what she said, and I can hear her stomping down the hallway. She's only about 5 feet on a good day, but she slams her feet down onto the ground when she's coming at you. So here she comes, and she's mad, and I'm still frozen. Stepdad yells at me, shut that door. Bang, I shut the door, and then I'm standing there waiting for whatever's going to come next. Here comes mom. She says, what did you see? And I'm like, okay, I can't tell her the truth because then I'm going to be in trouble. But if I lie, she's going to know I lied. Now I'm in more trouble. And I'm thinking and thinking. And here comes my sisters behind her because they're not in trouble this time. So they want to know what's going on. And I didn't say anything. And she said, "What did you see?" And she's got that pinched, and she's furious and looking at me like she hates me. And she had to ask me 3 times. And I finally said, I saw the bikes. My sisters jumped for joy. They're happy. "Yeah, we got bikes." Mom's furious. "Yeah, thanks for ruining Christmas." And I'm standing there going, I'm stuttering. And she said, "You could have just said you saw it." Wow. Okay. If I had CoDA with me as I do now, I would have simply asked her, "Mom, are you sure you want me to say this out loud?" Isn't that simple? But it's not when you're standing there frozen and scared half to death. I couldn't tell the truth. I couldn't lie. I had no options. I ruined Christmas, period. I'm wrong again, but that's the scapegoat. That was and I was honest. See, my bad. I gotta remember that I can't always tell the truth, but I really there was no way out with this one. And the lost child, the one just trying to survive unnoticed, because getting noticed means getting in trouble or being in the limelight. These are bad things. In adult, this person will maintain that feeling of being lost and unseen. They will struggle to make decisions and constantly have feelings of invisibility or not being seen. I see this with my niece. God bless her. She is one of the unseen, lost children. She did that to herself on purpose, but as a result, we all her birthday will roll around and we don't even do anything. Whereas everybody else in the family, we have to make a big shebang about it. And she questioned us on that one time. Why does everybody forget me on my birthday? I didn't forget you. It just seems like you never need anything from us. Because she was a lost child. She was trying to be invisible. Felt bad about that. Now every year I do something weird, usually sing her happy birthday in a foreign language, whatever I feel like doing that day. And we have the enabler or the caretaker, usually the oldest one. This person who maintains the look and appearance of normalcy within the family. They support and affirm the unhealthy behavior of other family members who might have a substance use disorder, that's me, or untreated mental illness, that's all of us. In adulthood, they continue trying to fix others and have an overall strong sense of responsibility and ownership over the problems of others. This is my older sister. God, she had 6 children. I don't know why. Me and my younger sister didn't have any. So there's balance in the universe. Okay, it's all right. But she had 6 children. And she had them as projects. She homeschooled them. And when they all left the house, she was useless and misdirected. And we worked at the same place for quite a while. She was doing the same job I was, but in a different department. And she was not my boss, but she would try to help me by questioning things and my work, or questioning me on an invoice or something like that. And I'm like, okay. And she's making me her project, and it was nitpicky and so I figured, because I'm smart, I figured that she needed a boyfriend because, she was lonely, and I'm thinking that's the problem. So I started praying for her to get a boyfriend. This is before I realized that, that's kind of not what you do. So I talked to my sponsor about it, and my sponsor says, "Well, Karen, you don't really know what she needs." Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course I do. She's my sister. Really? And I found that when I'm praying for something like this, it's because I will benefit if they get what I'm praying for. If she gets a boyfriend, he will be her project and she'll leave me alone. And I didn't really realize that that's what I was doing until my sponsor pointed it out. And I'm like, God, it is about me all the time. It just is. I'm hate to say that, but she was absolutely right. I wanted my sister to get what I was praying for so that she could make me feel better by leaving me alone. That's why I don't do Christmas lists anymore, or wish lists with my higher power. It's not going to work out anyway. The parentified child. This is the one who will take on the role of the other spouse in an absence of a healthy caretaker relationship. I hear this over and over again. Mom was a drunk, so I took on the role of spouse in various degrees. I've heard a full range on this one. In adulthood, this person is frequently drawn to relationships with a lot of dysfunction and emotionally unavailable partners. They base their self-worth on their partner's or others' approval. Makes sense. All of this makes sense to me. It's one thing I keep saying about CoDA. It makes sense when you think about it. So knowing all those roles that we have, if you are going into back to your family and you're continuing that role that you have, in other words, going home as a child, you're bound to hit that triangle. You're bound to. I'm going to tell you my hamburger story. I know I've told this a lot, but it's important because it's the way in and it's the way out of a triangle. When I first started working the CoDA steps with my sponsor, she found out or realized very quickly that I am an avoider, rather than, because that's the laziest one. And I'm a lazy person. Just dad, just get out of the area. So I'm an avoider. She says, okay, so for the next 90 days, I want you to say yes instead of no. I want you to stop avoiding things. And I'm going, I don't know, man, 90 days is a long time, but she was messing with me. It means forever, but just 90-day commitment. Okay, I can do that. So I started saying yes to everything. 2 days after she asked me to do that, she suggested it. My mom and my older sister called me up and asked me to come to dinner. I'm like, oh, no. This is something that I would typically avoid, and for good reason. These two live together in a severely unhealthy relationship. She is now mom's parent. That's her new project. So mom is she's the small child now. And of course, she's 91. She doesn't get around like she used to. And this is a perfect situation for my older sister who had 6 children. She now has another child to take care of. And I did not want to go, but of course I said yes, because I follow the suggestions of my sponsor. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this the other day when I was finishing this up, and my sponsor is one of the few people I know that will never deliberately hurt me. Whatever she suggests I do, it's not for my destruction. It's to further my program. It's to help me. It's to make things better. This is the same relationship I have with my higher power. My higher power will not lead me to destruction. I know that. I know that for sure. I know that my sponsor will not lead me to destruction. That's 2 people in my life, and I have a boyfriend that I've been with for, oh gosh, a couple of weeks, it'll be 17 years. Wow, didn't even think about that till now. And he would not lead me to my destruction. Those are 3 people in the world that I can absolutely count on not to hurt me. I'm blessed with that. But the relationship with the sponsor is so sacred. And if you don't have that relationship with your sponsor, that they won't hurt you for any reason, it might be time to get a different sponsor. Just saying. You should have the best sponsor in the world or get a different one. So I trust her. I know that she's doing this for a reason. I know that's good is going to come of it. All right. So I said, sure. And she told me, now, Karen, when you go home this time, why don't you go as an adult instead of your child? And I thought, what a novel idea. I am, what was I, 59 years old or so? It's time to be an adult, I guess. So I went. And I put it in my head that I'm not going to put my armor on this time. Typically, when I go home, I get my armor on and my helmet and got a shield and all this stuff so that they can't hurt me, because everything automatically goes straight into my heart. So I didn't put that on this time. I curled up my antennas and left those alone for the night and just went as an adult. And it was amazing. I opened the door and there was nobody in the room, which is not typical, but the cat was right there, dead center of the entryway, looking at me like, don't come in here. Do yourself a favor, leave now. Cats are smart, they know. But I disagree. I just went in anyway, and okay, nobody's around, fine. Sat in a chair, grabbed my phone. This is my avoidance device. Started playing Yahtzee. Eventually, Mom came out of her bedroom, walked right past me, went to the kitchen, and I can see her shoulders shaking. She's been crying a little bit. I'm thinking, great. Okay, so I went to the kitchen, gave her a big hug. Hi, Mom, how you doing? And she said, well, I guess I'm just stupid. I'm thinking, oh, and I said, I'm sorry to hear that. First thing out of my mouth, I'm sorry to hear that. And I am sorry to hear that. And hugged her a little bit more. And I went back and sat down because there's nothing for me to do here. I'm an adult and so is she. She can deal with her own stuff. It's not for me. So I sat down kind of uncomfortably. I have to admit that was uncomfortable to just not do anything about that. She went outside to cook the burgers. Here comes my sister. And she starts giving me a chronological discordance on all of Mom's faults. And she spills wine all over the brand new floor. She's ruining this place. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. Mom comes in and they get quiet. And Mom puts the burgers out. Everything's ready to go. Okay, time to eat. So I go in the kitchen and we're all sitting at the island and it looks good. Big, fat, juicy burgers. There's cheese, avocados, bacon, all this stuff. And I'm piling all this stuff on top of my burger and I started to eat. Mom says, don't you want a bun? Now, this sounds innocuous. I know. In healthy families, that means nothing. But in my family, it means I've done something wrong. And I said, no, I don't think so. And we're not done yet. She said, that's because that's like DEFCON 3. Okay. She tells me, comes back again, but I made you a bun. Okay, again, I've done something wrong, but I'm not accepting that this time. I'm an adult, she's an adult. Because I know that they've been fighting, okay? My sister and my mom have been fighting. They're upset with each other. But when you live with somebody, sometimes you're afraid you're going to cross that line. You don't want to say what you really want to say because that might blow up and it might be the end and who knows what would come next. So they wouldn't argue with each other, but they do have somebody now, the third person in the room, that they can take out their frustrations on. And that's what Mom does. She goes, but I made you a bun. I said, I appreciate that, Mom, but I just don't think I want to, I think I want to eat it this way. But I told you I was making hamburgers. Now she's raised her voice. She's got that pinch thing. Not only have I done something wrong, I need to apologize. I need to amend my behavior. I need to straighten this out to set the room back to normal. That's my typical behavior. And I said, Mom, I don't know what to say, but I'm really enjoying this. And I just started eating. And I was like, is she going to throw something in my head? I don't know what's going to come next. I don't know what's going to come next. But here I am. And my rescuer, my older sister, jumped in immediately. Said, well, she doesn't have to have a bun if she doesn't want a bun. And here they go. Mom and my sister arguing about the original problem. See, they were angry with each other. This had nothing to do with me. If you're being scapegoated, it has nothing to do with you. You haven't done something wrong. So if you're getting into that triangle, first recognize, now, have I actually erred or not? Have I done something I need to apologize for, or does this have nothing to do with me? If it has nothing to do with you, step out, quit your job. So I'm eating my hamburger because I didn't want it to congeal. It was delicious. And they're fighting. And I don't know what the topic was. I'm sure it was stupid. But I'm finished with my dinner and I go and sit back down in the living room and, Yahtzee, right? And they finish arguing with each other. They apologize to each other and then come in the living room and apologize to me for ruining the evening. And you could have knocked me over with a feather. I couldn't believe that all I had to do was nothing. That's all I had to do was stay the hell out of it. It had nothing to do with me. But the triangle, if you get involved in a triangle, you don't have to stay there. You don't. You can quit your job and it'll fall. Whatever the problem was, it's going to deal with itself. They're going to deal with each other. They're going to do whatever they need to do, but it's not up to me. And I don't have to do anything. So that's important. The triangle defines the unconscious roles when people take on in stressful, emotional, or high stakes conflicts. They had been arguing right before I came in. They were both in their bedrooms. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's creating drama, creating stress, creating conflict, or rescuing people from their own responsibility to look after themselves. My sister didn't need to rescue me. I did not need rescuing at that point, but she jumped in because that's what she does. That is her role in the family. This can be very subtle. Watch out for that triangle because all of a sudden you're in it. You didn't even know how you got there. Okay. But your own patterns are generally going to determine your role going in. But the roles can switch during the course of the conversation. The triangle also tends to be a downward looping spiral unless somebody manages to extract themselves and stop the same old scene from playing again. This hasn't happened since then because I figured out what my job was and I quit. They depended on me to be the scapegoat. Mom had an outlet, her typical one, that's me. All she was going to do was crap on me for a little while and then she would feel better. And then the room would settle down. Of course, they would still be angry with each other, but that doesn't need to be resolved. But Mom got defused by picking on me. But when I quit my role, now what are you going to do? She's still up here at DEFCON 1, and now it's time to go to battle with the real person she was angry at. It was amazing. What happened that day was a complete page turner for me. I thought, aha. So if I go home as an adult, none of this stuff works on me anymore. None of it. I told my mom and my sister, as a president of the, they were also officers, to be elected again. I said, I'm not going to take a role this year because I really want to work on this CoDA stuff. I knew it was important and I knew I wanted to dedicate myself. And they said, well, that's okay. How about if you just be the treasurer? And I said, no, I really don't want to. I had to say no to each office because they asked me on each office. And I had to say no, not once, but about 8 times. Be prepared. They're going to up the ante on you. Okay. Go ahead and keep repeating yourself. No, thank you. I'm just going to concentrate on my CoDA program right now, but thanks anyway. And at the end, they just told me I was selfish. Okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. I don't think so. So it doesn't matter. I don't think so. And as a matter of fact, it is somewhat selfish to stop doing everything else and being at everybody else's beck and call so you can work your program, but it's important. So yeah, call me whatever you want to, sticks and stones in my brain. You can call me whatever you need to call me to make yourself feel better. I'm the only one that can agree with that or not agree. If I agree, it goes in and I'll work on it. If I disagree, it's like, ole, it's gone. It's just gone. Okay, so next screen. Oh, these icons are so small. Let's look at the persecutor. Persecutors are either critical parents or they're just like your parents, who are strict and firm and set in their boundaries. They tend to think that they must win at any cost. Persecutors blame the victims and criticize the behavior of the rescuers without providing appropriate guidance, assistance, or a solution to the problem. They are critical and good at finding fault and control others to the point of bullying. Narcissists are in this category. Gaslighters are in this category. Could be your boss, could be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever. If they're acting like a critical parent, they're persecutors. And they're bullies. Okay, but they're not happy with themselves, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Victim. That was me, because I was always wrong. I was used to being wrong. I knew that I was wrong when the whole time I was growing up. I got that far, but that's all I knew was that I was wrong. Victims often feel trapped, helpless, and hopeless. They think they are at the mercy of life, right? There's nothing I can do about this. I'm helpless. They're unwilling to take responsibility for their circumstances, and they don't think they have the power to change their lives. I remember this. Back when I was drinking, I didn't think I had the power to change that anymore because I was just too far gone. Victims assume they are powerless or incompetent. And it's a fair assumption. You've had this reinforced all the time you were growing up. So this is fair. This is easy to drop into. They always seek rescuers to solve the problem for them. If the victims continue to stay in this role, it will prevent them from making decisions, solving problems, or gaining any satisfaction or sense of achievement. Added bonus, they get to blame the rescuer if things go sideways. That's nice. At least you get something out of it. But this was me. I felt like there was no way out of it. I felt helpless, hopeless. This is just the way it's going to be. And I had realized that I was going to die an alcoholic death, and that's just the way it was. Okay, so how long is this going to take? And the only reason I got sober is I got mad. I told my sponsor once again, I'm going to go to the meeting tonight. I'm going to have to raise my hand as a newcomer. And she said, that's okay, Karen. I guess you just haven't suffered enough yet. And I was so furious at that comment. I was so angry. I was like, who the hell do you think you are? You think I'm having a good time out here? I was just, lightning bolts were coming out of my head, but I used that rage to get pissed off enough to say, okay, no more. I'm no more, not today. And all day long, that next day, here comes alcohol whispering in my ear. And I kept saying, not today. Not today. You can't have me today. And then the next day, since the previous day was so horrible, there's no way I want to do that one again. Okay. Because if I drink today, I'm going to have to do that one again. Okay. I didn't want to do that. That was no fun. So that's what got me sober. I hadn't had a drink since that day. And God bless her for saying that. Pissed me off. Oh my God, I was so angry about, okay, this is not fun for me. As it turns out, I was incredibly healthy. My liver is completely regenerated, all that good stuff as it does. It's a miraculous little bundle of guts. But I was very, very healthy. I could have gone on for another 10 years like that. Can you imagine? That's not living. Anyway, for anybody that knows about that, that's half-life. Okay. Who else do we have? Here's our rescuer. Rescuers constantly intervene on behalf of the victims and try to save the victims from perceived harm. Doesn't even have to be real yet. Might seem like it's going sideways. Oh, let me help you. Let me shore you up. Unsolicited advice equals criticism. These are the unsolicited advice people. And I got off easy on this 90-day business. My sponsor's sponsor told her she couldn't give advice for 90 days. At least I didn't get hit with that one. She had no idea how much advice she gave until she couldn't give any unless she was asked for 90 days. She said that was an eye-opener. Same thing the way it was for me. I don't avoid things now. I say yes all the time. I've had some amazing experiences as a result. Good and bad. But the thing is, even if you think you're having a bad experience, you're still learning from it. So that equals a good experience. It is whatever. It's isness. This is the way it is. Rescuers have good intentions. Oh, they feel guilty of standing by and watching people drowned. Rescuers may have good intentions and strive to help other people, but they fail to realize that by offering short-term fixes to the victims, they keep the victims dependent while neglecting their own needs. This is why the rescuers often find themselves pressured, tired, and may not have time for their own tasks, as they are busy firefighting for the victims. The rescuers are the one that'll take a phone call from somebody who's a ruminator. They already know that this person is going to talk their ear off for an hour about the same thing they've been talking to them about for the last several years, haven't made any changes, haven't done anything positive. They just need to talk about it. And the victim, their victim, is the rescuer. The rescuer thinks they're a rescuer. They're actually a victim. If you are in that position, go ahead and put a boundary on that person. They will find another rescuer. Trust me. Lots of rescuers in the world. They'll find somebody else. It doesn't have to be you. Whew. Now, when the persecutor becomes assertive, how interesting that seems. Aren't they already assertive? I think they would even be called aggressive. But when the persecutor becomes assertive, they will act in their own best interest by asking for what they want. My mom was upset with my sister, not me. If she had been assertive enough to make a boundary with my sister, argue with my sister, say what she wanted to say, that triangle wouldn't have happened. They will act in their own interest by being flexible in order to get their needs met. Oops, I missed one. Saying no to something they do not want. Being flexible in order to get their needs met. Not punishing or making another person wrong. Your skills to learn assertiveness and self-awareness. Amazing. I was surprised to learn that a persecutor needs to become assertive. But my mom was so afraid of my sister and what my sister might say to her that she would not speak her own mind. So her needs were not getting met. So she had to punish somebody, and ta-da, Karen's here for dinner. Yay, how convenient. Okay, I just happened to be there. That's kind of the story of my life. I just happened to be there, wrong place, wrong time. When the rescuer becomes caring, that's another kind of a weird saying. Of course, the rescuer cares. But when the rescuer becomes caring, they will show concern for other people by trusting the victim, can come up with their own answers. These are adults we're dealing with, you know, they can take care of themselves. They won't, or they aren't, they just want to talk about it. I did this. I was a ruminator myself, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I would tell you my problems for hours and hours. You would give me great advice. I wouldn't take it, of course, because I either felt helpless, or for some reason I needed to stay where I was. I was getting something out of it. I'm a victim, and I was helpless. So, no amount of you or your advice is going to help me out of that one. When a rescuer becomes caring, they're going to listen to a person without offering solutions. Here's the caveat. If you listen to a ruminator, you're on the line for hours and hours and hours. So under those conditions, my sponsor told me, I'm going to let you tell me your problem for 1 minute, and then we're going to get into the solution. 1 minute is not a lot of time. So what it forced me to do was consolidate, what is my actual concern here? What, not all the fluff, leave the fluff out, what they were wearing, and the who was in the room at the time. None of that is a concern. By the time you boil it down to what really is the problem, you might as well just go look in the mirror, because that's where the problem is. It's amazing how that works. So she told me, you got 1 minute, and then we're going to work on the solution. And so if you've got a ruminator, a regular ruminator that you want to put a boundary on, tell them you have 1 minute. See what they do. They're probably going to stop calling you, and they'll go get somebody that'll listen to them for hours and hours, and that's okay. That's not for you to deal with. It's hard at first. I remember it was hard for me to not put my hands on other people's lives, because I know so much and I'm so incredibly helpful, so very, very aggressively helpful. And they needed me. It validated me because it made me feel smarter than them. I was always the one getting something out of it, or I wouldn't have done it. It doesn't matter what position on the triangle you are in, you're getting something from it if you're staying in it. Okay, it's up to you. Being clear about their own boundaries. Okay, you got 1 minute, that's it. Because I'm not going to listen to the same thing about you and your boyfriend over and over and over, same problem, different day, same stuff. You're not doing anything to help yourself. You just want to talk about it. I'm not going to do that anymore. And they're going to show concern for other people by not doing for others what they can do for themselves. This was something that I had to keep saying to myself over and over again. They're adults, they're grown-ups, they will figure it out. It was hard for me to take my hands off other people, so I had to keep telling myself, you're not dealing with children, that's an adult, they will figure it out. Or go get another rescuer. Either way, it's not for me. It's not for me. 95% of the stuff that I put my hands on, I had nothing to do with. It's a busy job running the whole universe now. It's a full-time gig. It's a lot of thinking, a lot of what should I tell so-and-so to solve her problem? It doesn't matter. She's not going to do anything about it anyway. But, you put a lot of energy into these people for no reason. Okay. Skills to learn: active listening and self-awareness. Why am I doing this? What's in it for me? Why am I staying in this relationship? Go look in the mirror. You are the problem, not them. Okay, that's right. My sponsor keeps things very, very simple for me. She says, anytime you need to find out what the problem is, find the nearest mirror, and there it is. Okay. And it keeps it simple when you look at it that way. If I'm the actual problem, okay, what's my deal? What am I getting from this? Active listening was not easy for me either, because as soon as somebody would start talking, I would decide what my response was going to be. Okay. Doesn't really give you a chance to, where was I? There went my train. Choo-choo. All right, let's see. And the last one, when the victim becomes vulnerable. How weird is that? You would think that they're already vulnerable just by being a victim, but they will use their own thinking for problem solving. If they finally decide to not just talk about it, they're going to be able to use their own think. They already know the answer. That's a funny thing. When I was ruminating to people, I already knew the answer, but I didn't really want to take action. I just wanted to talk about it endlessly, relentlessly. I don't know how people put up with me, but they certainly did. It was weird. I don't do that anymore. I sponsor people, and that's, that's how I take care of that problem. And again, like my sponsor told me, you have 1 minute to tell me the problem, then we're going to start working on it. Okay, when the victim becomes vulnerable, they're going to take action to take care of themselves. They're going to stop just talking about it and they're going to take action. Here's what I found. It's so neat. When I would sit there and ruminate about things and, oh, me, poor me, what's going to happen to me? All I had to do was take an action. Instead of just thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen to me? I hate where I'm living, but I'm stuck here. No, you're not. Let's take some action and find out what the possibilities are. And it does change your perspective. It does say, well, okay, so that wasn't true. I've been lying to myself about a lot of things my whole life. It was convenient and lazy. And I'm a lazy person. However, I do get things done in the fastest, most expeditious manner. So follow me around if you're looking for a shortcut. When the victim becomes vulnerable, they're going to develop a deeper awareness of themselves because they don't have that awareness right now. All they have is that they're stuck and it's always going to be this way. That's as far as I ever got. No wonder all I wanted to do was talk about it. Nothing was going to change. So I just pour me all out to everybody. So their skill to learn is going to be problem solving and self-awareness. Each one of these has self-awareness in it. Why are you in this? Rescuer, why are you doing that? What are you getting out of it? And the persecutor, and also self-awareness. Why am I doing this? Why am I not? Why do I need to go barf on somebody so that I feel better? Narcissists will not, as history shows, narcissists tend to not really get to the recovery part of this. You don't see many narcissists in CoDA meetings, which is good for us, but also it's bad for the universe. Anyway, here we go. Now, the drama triangle is a lose-lose situation, but if you talk yourself into it, you can talk yourself back out simply by reminding yourself that you are an adult. You are not stuck. You're not trapped. You're not helpless, hopeless, hapless. You can make your own decisions. You can decide whose opinion of you goes in and which ones stay out. And I like to tell the girls I sponsor, keep everything right about here, right about a foot away from you. When somebody says something, doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter if it's typically always been true, keep it right out here and take a good look at it. If it's something you need to work on, then work on it. But if it's somebody else just barfing out their own problems on you, olay that stuff. It doesn't belong to you. Perfect example. My best friend one time told me I wasn't very thoughtful. And boy, that was like a shot to my heart. What do you mean I'm not thoughtful? And it went directly inside me. I didn't keep it out here, but I did immediately pull it back out. Okay, wait a minute now. Number one, what does she mean by thoughtful? What is her opinion of thoughtful? And am I thoughtful or not? I looked it up in the dictionary. I got all kinds of information about this. What does thoughtful mean? Here's what I came up with. My currency is time. I give time to people in recovery. I sponsor a lot of women. I am in service on each level, all the way up to international. I'm on the international literature committee. It's fantastic. But each level of responsibility, I have a position in, because it helps my own program. Selfish, again, I'm getting something out of it, and that's okay. So, and oh God, I just lost my train of thought again. Oh yes, my currency is time. Am I thoughtful? If somebody tells me they have a cold, do I cook up a pot of chicken soup and bring it to their house? No, I don't. Because that's what she was thinking thoughtful was. To me, that seems borderline rescuer, codependent. I need you to like me. And this is the right thing to do. It's either that or this is just not in my makeup, and that's okay as well. That's not who I am. I have other gifts. I don't have that one. So I looked at it very hard before I decided to go ahead and put it on a shelf of things that, might be not be as thoughtful as she is, but when she is thoughtful, she has an agenda. So there it is. I'm going to put that back on a shelf of things to keep in mind. And I have all kinds of shelves and they're behind me. I don't have to look at them all the time. Triangle is a lose-lose situation. Okay, opting out of the triangle is a process of becoming more aware of your own patterns of behavior and communication and choosing to act in a more constructive and responsible way. Wow, we get to choose. Didn't know that either. Again, helpless, hopeless, hapless. I thought I was stuck and this is my life and that's the end of it. But that's not true. I can choose how I'm going to behave. I can choose what I'm going to say. I can choose how I'm going to react. I can choose whether or not I get hurt by something. I can choose my own feelings about things and I can choose my own perspective. That changes everything. Here are some possible steps you can take to opt out of the triangle. Here we go. Here's the way out. Take responsibility for your own actions and change them if they need to be changed. Instead of blaming others, acknowledge your part in the conflict and how you can improve the situation, if you can. Remember that just because it says here you can improve the situation, that ain't necessarily so. It might not be your situation to improve. There was nothing that I needed to do about my mom and my sister, except to let them do whatever they were going to do. I just quit my job, took myself out of the triangle, and let them, and that's the way I improved the situation for me and for them. They finally got to argue it out. Choose to act in ways that are respectful, assertive, and cooperative, rather than passive, aggressive, or manipulative. Let's see, who's passive? That's the victim. Who's aggressive? That's the persecutor. Who's manipulative? That's the rescuer. That doesn't sound very nice, does it? It doesn't make the rescuer sound very nice, but the rescuer does manipulate the victim and the persecutor, especially with my sister. God bless her, jump up and say, well, she doesn't have to have a bun if she doesn't want one. That was my cue to keep eating dinner because I was done. My part and my role, we were played out. We were finished. I love her. Saw her yesterday at the movies, had a great time. Saw her and my niece. It was fantastic. We had a wonderful time because I go home as an adult. I'm different now. I don't see myself as less than them. I see myself as equal. Communicate with respect. Use I statements to express your feelings, needs, and preferences without judging, criticizing, or attacking others. Listen actively to others without interrupting, dismissing, or rescuing them. Seek to understand their perspective and feelings without agreeing or disagreeing with them. This is tough. I statements, when I first started learning about I statements instead of you statements, you means I'm going to put somebody on the defense and that makes them go on the offense. For writing down my first I statement, I couldn't come up with one in my head. It took me about 10 minutes to write an I statement because I got race. Okay. I think you're a butthead is not an I statement. Okay. That's not the way that works, but that's as far as I could get. I kept thinking, how do I express myself saying because it's about them, they're the problem. And so it has to start with a you. Took me 10 minutes to write that first I statement. Now it comes naturally. If I had said to my mother, Mom, are you sure you want me to say that out loud? That would have solved that entire fiasco with the bikes, and Christmas would not have been ruined for my sisters. But I did not know I had another way to speak. I didn't know I had a third option. I thought I had truth or lie. That's all I thought. Didn't know I had a third option not to answer the question. That's another important point. Just because somebody asks you a question doesn't mean you have to answer it. You don't have to engage in every fight you're invited to. Okay? You just don't have to. I didn't know that either. God bless CoDA, because there's so many things that I didn't know about it, and that it makes me wish I could go back and have a redo on those things, but then I wouldn't be here. I would never have gotten here if I was healthy. And it's been an amazing journey. And plus, we really have great stories, especially AA people. They've got the best stories in the world. So it's kind of entertaining in a way. Hate to be part of that, but there I am. How can I, what word am I, feel regret about that? Okay, using I statements to express my needs and my feelings and my preferences without judging. Judging is what we do all the time, But Ken said something really interesting about this when he spoke at the international conference. He says, I don't judge people anymore, but I do need to assess people. You do need to assess people. Is that the truth or is that not the truth? Why would you say something like that to me? Does this have anything to do with me or not? Why did my best friend just tell me I wasn't thoughtful? But it's not a judgment. It's not you're a nice person or a bad person. I'm assessing your behavior. And that's a totally different category than judgment, because codependents tend to put labels on things. This is good, this is bad. I'm trying to take those words out of my vocabulary. It just is. This isn't good or bad. I'm going to tell the Chinese farmer story again to those people who haven't heard it. There are certain things that I repeat every time because they're important and they're valid. There's an old Chinese farmer. This was centuries ago. I'm sure he's dead by now, but he only had one son left at the house. And this son was his only worker. So they would plow the fields together. They had one horse, one son, and the guy's older, he's getting old. But so he was out there with his son. And one day their horse ran away, just ran off. The thing that was pulling the plow. Oh, man. And so all his neighbors came around and said, oh, my God, that's terrible. That's bad news. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry that you're going through such a bad thing. That's awful. And the father says, well, might be good, might be bad. I don't know yet. And a couple of weeks later, of course, they've been toiling. You can imagine they got to pull this plow by themselves. A couple of weeks later, the horse comes back and brings 3 other horses with him. And the neighbors say, oh, wow, that is so fantastic. What good news. This is great. I'm so happy for you. And the farmer says, might be good, might be bad. I don't know yet. So his son was breaking the horses in. You got to train them into farming and things like that. It doesn't come natural. So he's on one of the new horses and he fell off and broke his leg. And here comes the neighbors. Oh, my God, that's so bad. That's so terrible. I'm so sorry for you. That's just awful. And the farmer says, well, might be good, might be bad. We don't know yet. A couple of weeks after that, the Chinese army marched through, taking all the healthy young men off to war. And they didn't take his son because he had a broken leg. So we don't know what's good and what's bad. When we place judgments on things, we really honestly don't know why that's happening. The power of isness or the power of now. This is the way it is right now. It's not good or bad. It's just, this is the way it is. That's all. Even if it seems bad, it's probably going to turn out good. Like I said before, my higher power is not going to lead me to destruction. I know that. I know it in my heart. I don't know it up here. I know it right here. And that's where it belongs. Okay, judging, criticizing, or attacking others. I don't do that. Of course, I was usually the one being attacked anyway. Listen actively to others without interrupting, dismissing, or rescuing them. And listen to what they're actually saying. My best friend, I sponsored her for years. She's so crazy. But she cannot get along with her older sister, just can't do it. She can't do it. And she always feels less than when she goes home. It's the strangest thing. But her sister is a and she is not. Therefore, she's one down in her mind. That's it. She's one down and that's the end of it. She's judged herself. So when she was going to go home again, I said, now look, when you see your sister this time, because I always go out to dinner, do that whole let's go to dinner thing. God, why do we do that to each other? So I said, when she asks you, would you like some butter for your toast? Remember, she didn't just call you fat. She just asked you if you wanted butter for your toast, okay? So listen to what's actually being said, not what your head is going to make out of that, okay? Stop overreacting. You don't even know. Listen to what's actually being said. Seek to understand their perspective and feelings. This is really, it's actually easier to do than you might think because we've probably done it ourselves. It's like if you've never run a traffic light before by accident or for any other reason, then you can criticize somebody who runs one and almost runs into you. But if you've never had a traffic violation of any sort by intention or any other reason, you've got nothing to say about that. You've done it before too. How did it feel when you did it? There was when I'm driving down the Highway in the wintertime. I go down several times a year to Reno just because that's where the cheaper shopping is, cheaper gas, all that stuff. Well, there's a lot of people on the roads up here in the wintertime that are not snow drivers. They come up here to go to the resorts. They don't really know how to manage snow very well. I'm a really good snow driver, but other people are not. And I have to be aware that other people might get me involved in an accident. So I stay way back from people, give them a lot of room. And I also don't pass people because I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I don't break rules and go faster than other people just because they're looky-loos or driving slower than I feel like they should, because I don't know what's ahead of them. I don't know what's waiting for me if I pass them. If I pass them illegally or break the law, all that stuff, just because they're annoying me, there might be an accident waiting for me that I would not have gotten involved in if I just stayed where I was supposed to be. When I was younger, my 5-year-old niece drowned in the neighbor's pool, which was weird because she didn't like water. She didn't like swimming pools. I don't know how this happened. Nobody does. All of a sudden, she was just her mother, my sister, found her, and she was already gone. And at her funeral, I was devastated. I don't know why. I just loved that little girl. She had jet black hair with ice blue eyes. Gorgeous kid, always had a cast on. She was one of those reckless kids. It was just danger all the time. She always had a cast on. But she was gone, and the pastor said during the service, which I thought was so strange, but it's so poignant now. He said, well, we don't know what she was spared. And that really hit home to me, because we really don't know what we're being spared. If we stay where we're supposed to be and do what we're supposed to do, we might be getting spared something horrible. We don't know. Just like the Chinese farmer, might be good, might be bad. I don't know. How can I judge something like that? So without agreeing or disagreeing with them, this is not our business to agree or disagree with people. It is their stuff, not ours. And 21, set boundaries and consciously withdraw. If you find yourself in a drama triangle with someone who is not willing to change, obviously mom is not going to change. Okay, it's up to me. You can decide to limit or end your interaction with them. You can do that, but honestly, I'm telling you, because of CoDA and because of the steps, you don't have to take that dramatic a step. If you recognize that that person is untrustworthy and volatile and dangerous, you can be around that person and not play into it, just like I did when she said, don't you want a bun? No, but thank you. I could have gone with the old Karen. Oops, I'm wrong. Let me grab a bun. I could have said, oops, I forgot my bun. Where is it? I didn't do that. I'm an adult now. Sorry, little interlude. So I'm not wrong. You know, if you're not wrong, don't apologize. That's what I was trying to say. And let me shut the door. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, alone again. So you can decide to limit or end your interaction with them, but because of CoDA, you don't have to. You don't have to. You could still go around them, understanding that they are not healthy. That's a sick person you're dealing with. And just don't buy into their stuff, because it doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. You can say something like, I don't want to play anymore. I respect your choices, but I need to take care of myself. I'm going to step away from this conversation. I just said, no, thanks. I don't get into all, I'm a little bit more succinct than this. When she said, don't you want a bun? No, thanks. But I made you a bun. I appreciate that, but I'm going to eat it this way. But I told you I was making hamburgers. Mom, I don't know what to say, but I'm really enjoying this the way it is. The end. That's all I needed to do. That's all I needed to do was quit my job as scapegoat. You can also ask for a timeout or a break if you need to calm down or reflect on a situation. Here's something that's vital for you to know. If you are reacting to something, it's one of your kids. Don't know what the age of that kid is. Could be the little bitty one, could be the adolescent, could be the teenager, but one of your kids has just gotten up, woken up from a nap and yelled, battle, okay? That's when you're reacting. But the adult needs to step in. The adult has to be in charge at all times. The adult says things and does things, not the kids. If you leave the child in charge, you're going to do battle with somebody needlessly. You don't need to. And the adult says, no, no, thanks. It's simple, but not easy. It's hard to do this because it brings out some fear, because it always used to. Why would it be any different? As soon as you walk through that and not avoid it, and okay, nothing terrible happened. I'm still alive. We're still speaking. The cat's looking at me like, I told you, okay? Told you, should not have come in here. This is on you. It's all right. I'll take it. Take a break if you need to calm down. You could always say, let me think about that. That's all. Or just say thanks. I've done that before too. You know, somebody gives me some great unsolicited advice and just say thanks. And you file it in the unsolicited advice bin behind you on a shelf. You don't need to look at it. And it's over. Seek help if needed. If you are struggling to opt out of the triangle, you can reach out to a sponsor. Call your sponsor. You know, you can actually put that situation on hold. Hang on for just a second and go call your sponsor. You know, you don't have to stay involved in this bad situation. You can time out. I need to go, you know, you don't have to tell them I'm going to go call my sponsor and tell them all about you. Just, I'll be right back. Reach out to your higher power, recovery friend, or a professional if you need to for support and guidance. They can help you gain more insight, perspective, and skills to deal with conflict in a healthy way. My sponsor is very succinct also. She says, well, that's interesting. So what is she would go straight to me. So what is your angle on this? Why is this bothering you? What does it have to do with you? And we unwind everything, take a really stark look at it, and see if I needed to really be in that at all. Does this have anything to do with me? No, it does not. Checking out. Oh, here's a good story. Now, this is a really nice triangle for us, because you'll notice that people switch up in this one. You don't have to stay in the role that you entered the triangle in. Susie was staying with her friend Marge and Marge's daughter Stella. One day, a pair of Susie's earrings came up missing, and she asked if anyone had seen them, and everyone said no. Now, here I have a problem with this next part. You will too. Suspicious of Stella, Susie went into her bedroom, looked in her jewelry box, and they were there. Okay, there's a lot of problems with that. Okay, call your sponsor before you ever do that. that whole, I went and looked in your jewelry box and they were there. That would have caused a lot of problems. Susie took them back and announced that she had found them. Susie was clearly the victim here of Stella's obvious theft, and the persecutor was clearly Stella, the thief. Marge became Susie's rescuer by chastising her daughter in front of Stella in front of Susie. However, Stella denied taking the earrings, and all the roles suddenly switched. Now, Susie is seen as the persecutor for blaming the daughter for this, for falsely blaming Stella, who is now the victim. Marge stood up for her daughter and became Stella's rescuer. Now you can tell Marge, her job normally is a rescuer. She rescued her friend. Now she's rescuing her daughter. Then Marge asked Susie to leave her home, which made Susie the victim, and Marge is the persecutor. Susie leaves the house, calls all their mutual friends, who then call Marge and chastise her for her treatment of Susie. Now Marge is the victim. And it continues until one of the players drops out. One of the players has to drop out. It's really easy to do. And you can do it and still save face. You don't have to stay involved, because if you stay involved, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when the mean words come out. That's when the truth comes out. That's when everything you've ever wanted to say to that person comes out. It has nothing to do with the current situation, but there's some things that you've been meaning to say to them. And by the way, I think you're a this and a that. And now you've lost a friend. And it's needless. It is needless. I've got a problem with this girl going into the daughter's bedroom. That's a whole different thing. Now the daughter's the victim on this one. But anyway, that's for another day. So for discussion, I'd like to talk about which patterns a persecutor will most likely use, which patterns a victim will most likely use, and which patterns a rescuer will most likely use. And to do that, I'm going to bring up, which I should have in the first place. Whoops. I'm going to put this beautiful one-page patterns sheet. One of my sponsees did this. And where is it? One-page patterns. Okay. And new share. There we go. Okay. So what patterns are a persecutor most likely to use? Go ahead and raise your hand on this one and just give us an idea specifically. Here's your patterns over here. We've got denial, low self-esteem, compliance. There we go. What do you think a persecutor would most likely use? Right. So here's your control column. What do you think? Freely offer advice and direction? Become resentful when others decline their help? That's a persecutor right there. Need to feel needed. Demand that their needs be met by others. That's possible. Oh, here we go. Use charm and charisma to convince others of their capacity to be caring and compassionate. No, that's a rescuer. Use blame and shame to exploit others emotionally. Good. Okay. What do you think Compliance has for us for persecutor? Which one of the compliances do you think? I'm not sure that fits a persecutor. Just impossibly. Maybe you are. Maybe you are. But yeah, there's a lot of control in the persecutor role, and possibly even some denial. No, let's see what else other people have. And you know what's, I'm glad you said that, because each one of these participants is in pain. Each one of them. Neither of them is healthy. Neither one of them has their together, or they would not be in this triangle. So yeah, the persecutor would also definitely lack empathy for the feelings and needs of others, but would also mask pain in various ways, such as anger. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Good call. Yeah. If you traditionally have low self-esteem, sure, you would attack others that maybe they might have attacked you first, but yeah, you go after them, sure. Thank you. Good one. How about you? Okay. Well, we also have perceived them as superior to others in low self-esteem, which is odd. And I didn't think that belonged in there until I started sponsoring people. And I really had to think, kind of watch my own behavior, because I perceived myself as superior just because I'd finished the steps.
Greater than ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Good one. Yeah, because the persecutor is the higher power, generally speaking. Nice. Very good. Okay. And which patterns are a victim most likely to use? Hands up, people. Here we go. John, what do you think? That's a standard in sales training. They say once you've made your pitch, shut up, because the first person to speak is the one that loses. So yeah, amazing. Yeah, let's teach some bad behavior. But that's a good one. Displays of weakness are no good. Let's see. So use indirect or evasive communication. Yeah, I used to do that. Compliance is big. Now, in my hamburger story, if I had not gone back as an adult, I would have complied and asked, oops, I'm sorry, I forgot my bun. Where is it? Just to settle things down. I decided not to do that. And I had no idea how this was going to turn out. There's a lot of fear involved in this, because we're dealing with volatile people who are not healthy and they don't have any recovery. You got no idea which way this is going to go. I was picturing a ketchup bottle flying towards my head. I didn't know, because You just can't tell with some people, but you have enough history with them to know that it's probably not going to go well. And it didn't, but it went okay for me. I was an isolator big time. Everybody in my family was in certain ways, but yeah, there's a lot of the family roles that are in there. I would also say the persecutor masks pain in various ways. I think somebody else came up with that. Maybe we all mask pain, and that's why we're in the triangle, because each one of us in there are unhealthy. Nobody in there has their stuff together. That's a good call, because when I was in the victim role or in the victim mode when I was growing up, I would always look for things outside myself to make me happy. I was looking for a new job or a new car or a new boyfriend or something outside of myself that would solve my problem, that would make me happy. As it turns out, none of that stuff is important. My idea of happiness now doesn't involve any of that stuff. It's inconsequential, and it's brief. You get the new car, now you got to maintain it. So that's a good call. Thank you. How could you tell me I'm not thoughtful? Boy, that one's a rescuer role right there. And all of these roles, you got to be, when you're sponsoring people, you've got to really be aware and not drop into one of these, because the sponsor can be a rescuer if you're not doing it right. If you can take on that role without even realizing it. What do you have? Use blame and shame to explain. Oh yeah, victims really do that. I really need you. I need you to listen to me. I need to talk to somebody. How many times have you heard this? I need to talk to somebody. And it tugs on those rescuer strings. So yeah, you go along, okay, all right, tell me everything, for hours and hours, because you're getting something out of it. You're feeling validated. What patterns are a rescuer most likely to use? Rescuers are very unhealthy people. They can't do anything about their own lives, so they rescue other people. That's the reason I did it. This, ironically, is a very controlling. The rescues are very controlling, become resentful when others decline their help and reject their advice. Have to feel needed in order to have a relationship with others. That's a good call. That is wonderful. That is really, really great. That's exactly what you do when you go look in the mirror. What's my issue with this? Why do I need to control this person's behavior? Why do I need to change this situation? What's in it for me? And you pulled it right out of there. That's good for you. That's good stuff. What do you have? I think because I needed to say, I have made a decision. See how smart I am? I decided right away. That was my big deal. Yeah, good call. What do you think? Now, how many of you girls, I can only speak to the girls, I don't know what the guys do about this. How many of you brought elaborate dishes to potlucks? Okay. Had to be the best looking dish on the table so that everybody would go, ooh, ah, wow. That's an easy way to get validation. And I don't cook. I'm not a good cook. I'm an average cook. So mine had to be unusual looking, or, something to really set it aside so people would pick out that thing and go, wow, it's low self-esteem, it's validation, and it's ridiculous. So there we go. Who else had their hand up? The people who don't have recovery will take everything you have to give. And they're not using anything that you're giving them. They just are going to keep using you until you're all used up, which is unfortunate. But that's what they know how to do. They don't know how to fix anything, are too afraid to take action. So there they are. That's it. They're going to sit there until they decide to change. What was it my sponsor said? When the pain gets bigger than the fear, that's when people change. So isn't that interesting? That's in a control. It is control. Of course, now all of these patterns are a way of controlling things. Each one of these is a control pattern, but avoidance is certainly a good way to control things. You just leave, or don't go to begin with. So that's an easy one. That's a lazy one. I like that. Compliance is also a way to control the situation. Using low self-esteem, sure, you can make people feel sorry for you sometimes. But yes, the control patterns, rescuers use those. Now, on the very first one, believe people freely offer advice. You might want to jot down here, and if you haven't already, unsolicited advice equals criticism. Every time. There's no loopholes on this one. You're basically telling them they're not smart enough to think of this themselves. And as long as you keep them in that position, they won't think for themselves. Well, because this is what we're talking about, self-awareness. That's what we mean by that. You know, be aware of why you are doing this. Why am I playing a victim right now? Am I really a victim or no? Problem solving and self-awareness, active listening and self-awareness, and assertiveness and self-awareness. I need to know why I'm in this triangle. And, you know, it's easy to get back out, but a lot of times we don't even realize we're in there till it's too late. But, well, it's never too late. You can always get back out. It's just harder to extricate yourself when the deeper in you go.